There you go.
Are we live? Are we live? Doesn't say we're live. Why is it not saying it's live on either of my machines?
Now mine says live.
Well, we'll go with your machines. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM players, and half of us is confused why we're not live.
Well, no, both of us are completely confused.
I wonder if I hit the go live again here, what'll happen? See,
Okay.
it's saying
It's saying live on. I went to LinkedIn and my site, and it says live.
all right. We're going live, or we're already gone live, or I guess
We're
we'll stay alive.
24 seconds, 25 seconds into live.
Literally just went live on my machine. This is craziness. StreamYard, get your act together.
And LinkedIn, get your act together.
And Sven, get your moment of Sven together.
Where are you?
Well, we can't be too hard on him since everybody else is messing up on here. So we are the CRM players. And guess what, folks? I know it's kind of hard to believe at this point, but we've been doing this since 2009, apparently.
Well, actually, it's easy to believe at this point because maybe it's just that we're losing our memories now.
No, I blame this one on StreamYard and LinkedIn.
I do too.
There's some kind of disconnect in the relationship there. They got to get this together.
I'm going to recommend counseling
for the children.
Right. That's right.
And
at least for the children.
And I came in with in a great mood because you know what I'm wearing.
Well, I know you're wearing Rams gear, but I can't.
Well, you're half right. I do have a Rams hat, but
I can't. Well, I can't.
Brand new Prince.
Whoa! Look at holy cow! What's 58 is?
That's the year he was born.
I figured it must be his birthday.
And it's a baseball jersey. So it's got like a Nike swoosh, and it's although I'm not a Twins.
Minnesota Twins.
Well, he's from Minnesota.
I know, but why did?
Wow, you got the Prince logo on the other one, but I love this. I got it in blue because I couldn't get it in purple. There's no way in the world I'm wearing anything looks remotely like a Minnesota Vikings jersey. No way. So I got it in the blue, and it just so happens that I have a cap or two, a Ram blue hats.
Yeah, and you know what? And the Prince logo symbol is purple, so that's all you need.
Yeah, I didn't need
the only purple you need. No, a whole jersey would look like Vikings.
No, I couldn't do that to my childhood self because Carl Eller, Alan Page, Jim Marshall, and I forget the fourth guy. I still have nightmares of those dudes. So, let's see. Hey, JR.
JR.
God. JR, I thought you got shot. What are you doing here? Oh, Dallas.
I'm having lunch with this guy next week.
Oh my God.
We're catching up. Yes, we are.
I don't know. He's a Cowboy fan.
It's all right. I'll convince him to be a Giants fan by next week.
Well, we're glad to have you here, JR, in spite of, that. Hello. Absolutely. And we get Sven back one week and then he's gone another. What's going on here?
I don't know. I mean, he is, he's a mercurial guy. He has a life. He has a life that's not connected to CRM Playaz.
He does? I didn't know
we don't. He does.
I don't know about all that, but guess what? I think this is like a first time guest we have on.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah, but before that, guess what else is coming up?
Oh, right. Oh, God. I thought you were going to say Stump the Godfather, and I was going to go crazy.
Don't worry.
Way too soon.
That's coming.
Way too soon in the show. Yes. This is, what is that? 2 weeks. 2 weeks from
2 weeks?
2 days ago.
No, really?
Yeah. Because today.
This is on a Tuesday. It's like.
It's 3 weeks.
2.5 weeks, I guess.
This is the 15th. Yeah, I forgot this. Not the 22nd. All right. Yeah, 3 weeks. Which is a
street eye teacher. Oh God.
Well, I don't even know what are you talking about? I'm gonna have lunch with you.
Street IT teams.
Street IT.
I don't know.
I don't know what street IT is.
I don't know. But we do know we're doing, for the second year in a row, live streaming the CRM magazine. What do they call them? The industry awards or something like that?
Yeah, the industry awards. Their 24th year.
No, I think it's the 21st year of actually doing it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
But that's good. I mean, so that's coming up in 2.5 weeks. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then we do have one announcement on the conference, though. Probably should make it now.
Go ahead if you want to.
Yeah. So, for varying reasons, which I will not get into, we have the conference, as you know, the IRL 2024 CRM Playaz 15th anniversary that was going to be celebrated in Atlanta on November 11th and 12th is now being celebrated in Atlanta on January 20th and 21st on the 16th anniversary. So we're celebrating our 15th anniversary on our 16th anniversary, which is pretty much expected from us, I think, that we would do something that ridiculous. But that's what we're doing. So change your calendars. It is invitation only. If you are interested in coming, though, contact us, right? Contact us through our LinkedIn profiles. Contact us through, you can contact us through Paul at playazproductionsnetwork.com. You can contact me if you want at Paul-Greenberg3 at the56group.com. One way or the other, contact us. Let us know you're interested in coming. We'll put you on the list, and the invites are going to go out in a few weeks. So be prepared. So January 20th, 21st in Atlanta, still at the Atlanta Tech Village.
It should be lots of fun.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Actually, we've cooked up a few new things that we wouldn't have been able to pull off by November. So it will be fun.
In the meantime, we got I get this. This will be fun. So for the first time ever on A Few Good Minutes, and I've been doing this for a long time, but this is going to be the first time I am joined for A Few Good Minutes by the one and only, I like to call him Buffalo Bob Stutz. He's Bob Stutz. He's a CRM industry pioneer and all that, but it's also like one of the biggest Buffalo Bills fans there is. So we also call him Buffalo Bob. He'll be joining me next Tuesday. And if you know anything about Bob, you know he's not just afraid to share his opinions on stuff.
Yep. It's let's just say go back and look at various shows he's done with us. Now, Bob's show, No BS with Bob Stutz, will be returning this fall.
Yes. It's on hiatus.
It's
on summer hiatus.
It's on low hiatus.
Yeah. I was going to say he's not really high, but
no,
it's on hiatus.
But he will be back in the fall, as will, I hope, Whispered Insights.
Yeah. And, there's a little downtime for the Crunch, too. They're on a mini hiatus kind of thing.
I thought didn't they have an episode last week?
They had one, but they didn't.
Oh yeah, no, that was due to a schedule conflict, so they're okay.
Yeah, they didn't have one this week. I don't think they're gonna have one next week, but they'll be back. They'll be back sometime soon. All right. So something caught my attention.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's actually kind of funny. So yesterday I was just watching CNBC, and they had this clip of Google's former CEO Eric Schmidt talking at this Stanford event, and apparently it was supposed to be kind of a private Stanford event for like startup people, I guess. But he had something that he said that apparently he didn't know that it is going to be uploaded to YouTube by the Stanford folks. And he had a certain thing to say about remote work. I'm going to play this clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it.
Work is because the people work like hell. And I'm sorry to be so blunt, but the fact of the matter is if you all leave the university and go found a company, you're not going to let people work from home and only come in one day a week. if you want to compete against the other startups.
In the early days of Google, Microsoft was like that.
Exactly. There's a long history of companies winning in a genuinely creative way and really dominating a space and not making this the next transition. And I think that the truth is founders are special. The founders need to be in charge. The founders are difficult to work with. They push people hard. As much as we can dislike Elon's personal behavior, look at what he gets out of people.
Yeah, so basically he was pretty much trashing the whole remote working thing and saying, you know, if you want to do a successful startup, you can't let your people work from. I mean, that was kind of the crux of it. But apparently that was only meant for the people in the room. But somehow the folks at Stanford actually uploaded it to YouTube. It got people's attention. And I thought, you know, it got my attention. And so I posted it on our the PPN Facebook page, and let's see, I think I have somebody who actually made the comment about that. Oh yeah, our buddy Alan Berkson, he commented on that post. He was like, "Remote working is not a bug; it's a feature." Totally agree with that. It may have some challenges now, but they are not all based on the remote workers. I completely agree with Alan on that.
Me too.
And he actually wrote a long, like a paragraph long. I just kind of pulled that out, and I thought that was so good. He's not only Alan Berkson at this point. He's Alan Berkson, Chief Narrative Officer for the CRM Playaz.
Alan, just to be clear, we can't pay you.
No, it's a totally unpaid position.
That's right.
But it's full of prestige, at least from us.
That's right.
And then Alan was not the only one who commented on that. Let's see. Our other analyst buddy, Thomas Weaver Knight. Actually, I like this. Management consultant, technology analyst, podcast host, and star.
What was the rest of it?
There's no need for the rest of it. Just star. I think we just let it go at star, right?
It could say, but it could. The rest of it could say, staring at the ocean daily.
I'm gonna go out on the limb and say that's probably not what the rest of it says, but
okay,
we'll just leave it at star. I like that. But he said, I'd wager that leaders are good at remote management, just that there are only a few leaders out there. You know what? I kind of agree with that too. I know he's kind of being sarcastic about that, but there's a lot of truth in that sarcasm, if you ask me.
Well, you know what Schmidt said about sometimes they kill a space and then they don't make the transition. That might be said for him.
Well, he's not actually followed up the Google gig with anything remotely close to that, but that would
right. Well, that's kind of the point too. Look, as far as it goes, whether he likes it or not, one, remote work's here to stay. Two, it becoming almost in some cases a condition of employment for the people who want to work for a company. Three, that's not, being in an office is not a foundation of success, particularly. I mean, it may be in some instances, of course, depends on what you do. But there's no guarantee of failure if you don't come into an office. I'm sorry, if that's how he's driving and thinking about work, and then saying, well, may not like Elon's personal behavior, look what he gets out of people. I mean, yeah, I had the fear of terror and firing and totally discontinuous behavior and trying to figure out what this man is going to do next. I mean, supposedly he gets things out of people out of terror, right? So it doesn't. It's not like
I'm sure Ivan the Terrible got a lot of things out of people.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I think Eric, you're being blunt, and that's nice, but
Well, hold that thought.
Wrong too.
There's a different ending to this story here, but I wanted to also bring up our other buddy. You know what? We got a lot of buddies out there. Kind of interesting how I learned all this as we go through these exercises and stuff. So, and not only is he a buddy, not only is he the Midas of Martech, not only is he the golden smog of CRM, he's also the voice of PP in Anand Tucker. Man, that's a lot.
He
of
is.
We've given him a lot of titles. Just realized this.
None of which he pays any attention to.
Well, just like the chief narrative officer, they're great titles. They don't really
That's
get
right.
paid or anything.
Yeah, Anand, we can't pay you either.
Matter of fact, whenever we give anybody a title or nickname, the following always applies. We can't afford to pay you either.
It's our new disclaimer.
That's right. But Anand comes from a little bit of a, he's in the startup. He's a kind of an angel investor. He works for startups. He advises startups, all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was interesting to get his perspective. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but commitment, collaboration, and culture are foundations for innovation, creativity, and resilience. Today, the lines are blurred on what environment can bring out the best quality. See, that's the thing. There's got to have some nuance to this stuff here. And I didn't see Eric with the nuance.
No, Eric Schmidt didn't have any. I mean, he basically was, if you don't go back to work in the office, you're going to fail, right? Or you're not going to compete against people who are going back to work in the office. It depends on what you do and what you need to do. That's it.
Period. Or all your innovation is dead when you have people not going into the office. That's
by the way, because you're home, you're stupid.
All right. Now here's the kicker to the whole story here. So as I said before, I don't think that little talk was supposed to leave the room, although he knew there were cameras in there recording. So
of course.
Whenever somebody's doing that, there's a pretty good chance it's going to.
He kind of was at Google, which would kind of imply that things are going to leave the room.
Right. All right. So after he saw the flack he was getting, video of Eric Schmidt blaming remote work for Google's woes mysteriously vanishes.
Yeah, shocking.
Not that, and I think somebody said he kind of backpedaled, or I think he said he misspoke. Did he look like a guy that was misspoken?
No, he was being blunt.
He was being honest. This is probably the most honest he has been because he thought he was talking to a specific audience. I don't think that's a misspoke. I think that's I wish that video hadn't gotten out in the first place.
Yeah, it's interesting. You start appreciating the executives like who are blunt and sometimes annoying as hell, like Mark Hurd, may he rest in peace, or Keith Block, or people like that, because those guys, they did what they did. They were hardcore. They were operational guys. They knew how to manage, and they historically had managed in person, but being at Salesforce and Oracle, a lot of the work was remote, and they just adjusted and did what they did, understanding reality as it had become and what the company needed to do. They didn't just hold firm to some old school version of something that no longer was appropriate, right? I really appreciate both of those guys for that reason, even though, again, they could be irritating. I met Keith Block, and I actually liked him. I met Mark Hurd once or twice, and Mark
me too.
would fight with analysts all the time, and he would say, "You know what? I was right and you were wrong," and he would do stuff like that all the time. But there was one thing he never didn't have from analysts, or Keith Block, same. He didn't lack respect. He always had the respect.
I think he
everybody.
enjoyed when he did those little analyst scrums.
Yeah.
He looked like he was really having a ball with that.
Yeah. I mean, he was having fun, and the guy was sometimes right, and our crowd was wrong.
Right.
But those guys, they saw the world as it changed and evolved with it, and then figured out how to apply what they knew to that new world. And that's the difference between them and, say, what Eric Schmidt was doing there.
Yeah. You know who doesn't misspoke?
Who doesn't misspoke?
And now it's time for
You mean
Stump the Godfather
Misspoke.
with the Venerable Paul Greenberg. Brought to you by Microsoft
so this is already
Dynamics
over.
365 Copilot.
I don't have to do it.
Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft CRM, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. Where I get to CRM stuff in there for? No, I just like to say misspoke. I don't know.
Okay.
I like that. That's
You know
my
I
word
love
for the
you,
day.
so
That's my word for the day. Misspoke. I know I should have said
speak.
I don't know. I like misspoke. Anyway,
Misspoke was my teacher in 3rd grade. Misspoke.
you
Get it?
remember that?
Ah.
Remember that old what was that Cool in the Gang song, Misled?
Yes, I do actually. Now that you said it.
It was Misled, and they were actually talking about a lady.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. This week, Stump the Godfather. Let me see if I make sure I'm not giving away the answer to this. All right, here we go. The Olympics was great. The Olympic coverage on Peacock was really, really great. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Was it like 2 weeks? It was great. And apparently a lot of people enjoyed watching it on not only the NBC family of networks, but their digital properties like Peacock. So NBC United, or what is that? Universal or something like that?
NBC Universal
said that it streamed up to 300 live events a day over the course of the games. I think it's like 3,200 different events it streamed and live streamed over that 2 week period. But what percentage of Peacock viewers watched via multi-view?
Wow,
I love the multi-view. Did you watch any of that? Oh,
I did.
It was great because YouTube TV has a multi-view. I don't like their multi-view that much. It's not as fluid and it doesn't switch as fast. Or maybe it has something to do with the Olympics too. But I like the YouTube TV multi-view when I'm watching football. But the experience that I got from watching multi-view on Peacock was great. The only thing is they try to lock you into the commercials. Like if you're watching one of the options and you wanted to, and a commercial came on and you wanted to switch to something else, they wouldn't let you switch. But I found a way around it. If you just completely backed out of the multi-view and then went right back in, then you could switch. So I didn't have that much problem after that. But what percentage of Peacock viewers watched the Olympics via multi-view?
That is a really interesting one. I have no idea. I mean, I'm going to assume a much higher percentage than I probably really did. But I got a number, but I don't think there's anyone here who's going to guess.
Well, let's see. If anybody is out there to guess, JR, and our guest is in the virtual green room, you're more than welcome to guess as well. And we can just put it in our private chat. We'll let people know what your guess is.
Wow,
JR Clark. Okay. So he's saying 25%. Oh, I think we have a guess. We got a guess. We got a guess from our guest. That's kind of hard to say. Got a guess from our guest. Laurence Buchanan is saying 35%.
Okay, so JR is 25.
Lawrence is 35.
I'll take the high road on this one and say 42%.
42. Wow, that's a lot. That's almost half.
I'm going way up on this one. But I mean, I'm assuming that they didn't have this survey didn't mean watch the entire time on multi-view, meaning at some point they watched on multi-view.
Yeah, I would. That would be safe to say because
that's why I'm getting
like I was watching the gold basketball.
Right.
The only thing I was watching. I wasn't
watching
anything else. But through the course of I had it up a lot. And I'd be, oh yeah, I want to see this now. Oh, this is cool. I'll go to here. Or sometimes I did keep it up like all four, but I always sort of zoned into one.
See, I was using multi-view, but I would do it. I wasn't watching the Olympics as frequently as you were, but I was watching, and I would go straight to the multi-view every time to start.
Right.
To find the thing I wanted to watch, because I figured, all right, I'll look at the multi-view, I'll find one of those things, and I'll watch that. And that's kind of what I would do. So I'm assuming it's more like my experience was what they're talking to, meaning you'd come in and use it at some point over the.
I'm guessing it's that. I'm guessing it's you use it at some point, not all the time, but at one point or another, you use.
So I'll say 42%.
Right,
that's 42. High, but I'm going to go with it anyway.
So we got 25% from JR, 35% from Lawrence, 42% from you. And that brings us to the actual answer, which is, remind me, got to get some drum roll in here.
Yeah, we never do though.
I always forget until this moment. So anyway, the answer is
20. Oh, JR.
right on. The JR must have read the same press release I read.
The current.
I thought it was really that number sounds about right. You know, and I mean, because 1 in 4, that's a pretty big number considering this is the first year they offered it, right?
Right, exactly.
That's pretty big.
I think it's the first year they've offered it for anything at all of any kind. Because I was trying to think that I seen it. The only time I've seen it with other sports, JR wrote.
Okay.
Well, see that's why he's my friend, man. He's an honest guy. I've known JR like 20 plus years now.
He's an honest cheat.
He is. He's an honest cheat. I love the man. So yeah, I mean, the only time I've actually seen it, Sunday Ticket, of course, had it, and I would watch that all the time. And but I was always looking mostly for the Giants game anyway. So, but I would use a multi-view to flip games all the time. It was a little awkward.
The thing about the Olympics Peacock, they had several multi-views because they had like the top events multi-view. Then I think they had like stuff like a tennis multi-view.
Yeah, I only watched the top of the main big one.
Oh, look at that. He used my Copilot because he is a Microsoft guy.
Yeah, he is. I mean, literally, meaning he's one of these people who, over the years, he's sold Microsoft products, things like that.
Oh,
he's
okay.
Partnered, worked with Microsoft partners, worked with Microsoft consulting companies, things like that.
All right, so you like this one apparently?
I do. I actually like it.
This is like the first time I think you've ever said you liked one of these.
Wow.
Okay. Well, this would have been great for ADHD folks for sure.
Yeah, well,
but
you'll be the testimonial for NBC.
They said they had 30 million viewers a day across the NBC family of networks watching this stuff.
Well, to their credit, to NBC's credit, that was easily overall. First of all, the venue itself was Paris turned out to be a fantastic venue, and the French did a really good job with it. Secondly, NBC was they went, not only they go high tech, but they went stunning production level stuff throughout the whole thing. I mean, they really sunk. I'll put it this way: if I'm any Olympics, I want NBC to broadcast me because that was that good as far as just the production was spectacular and everything they did.
It was
every
great.
single thing. Yeah, I mean, everything popped. The views were amazing. When you were showing me during the Olympics, we were showing those 360 cameras, those things. Oh, I mean, all those things. Just wow, spectacular.
Absolutely. So that was great. They did a great job, and I got this on record saying you actually like this Stump the Godfather. This is like
we're 1 for 100 now.
So that was Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
I have no beef with it.
We got a winner. All right. Speaking of winners, now it's your turn to introduce today's guest.
Okay. All right. So I'm excited about this. I'm like really excited because I have known this gentleman for, it must be close to 20 years. I met him when he was at SAP many years ago, and we had a conversation, and we were this other guy, Nick Kontopoulos, and the three of us talked, and I was taken by both of them, really. Both of them were amazing. And then
where'd they take you?
Yuck, yuck, yuck. Oh, that's going to be an off-camera thing that we do. I was immediately taken with Laurence. First of all, the guy was just incredibly bright. I mean, just really smart, very personable, very smart. The other thing is, though, he was smart in the way a thought leader was smart, meaning he could formulate context, he could formulate frameworks, he could formulate ideas, he could then because he was doing a lot of practical work on the CX, customer engagement side of things, CRM, etc. He understood the practical side of it too, and then he could execute and implement. The other thing he did, which was amazing, and I saw him do this multiple times over the years, was speak on stage. He's got an amazing stage presence. I haven't seen him speak for years now, but I'm guessing he's just not doing enough. Now, he went from SAP, he ended up at, I think, Capgemini for a little while, then EY, which is where he's now the CEO of Ey Seren. Now, here's the thing. Ey Seren is a Ernst & Young company, but it's a design and innovation arm of Ernst & Young. And, it's got the same restrictions that any company that does, major accounting firm has, which is you can't talk about or work with the clients who are in the accounting practice. So, but the thing that's interesting about Seren is Ey Seren is that they are designers of customer experience, right? And that's the focus. There's a case study they mentioned, or I don't name the name, about a global bank that has just transformed this bank. And you know what? I will tell you, Laurence is absolutely the right guy for this job. I mean, he's an amazing guy. He's never been anything less than an amazing human being, and he's a really good person. Last time I actually saw him, I was with Thunderhead, in London visiting, and he and I went out to this restaurant, an Indian restaurant, not too far from the Arch in London, and had a really nice meal and chat. The other time I interacted with him a fairly big amount was when he was made partner. I was one of his partner references, so I spoke with all the partners at EY to, say why Laurence should be a partner, and he was a slam dunk. So let's bring on one of the great slam dunks and great people I know, Laurence Buchanan, CEO of Ey Seren. Hey man, how are you?
Paul and Brent, fantastic. So great to see you again. Paul, thank you so much for those very, very, very kind words.
Yeah, all true.
I'm actually going to throw some of those back at you because you're right. I've been in this market now for 25 years. Wow. To me, the thing that just solidified my understanding, that got me hooked, that got me curious, that got me passionate about this space, probably the early 2000s, I started reading. You remember the kind of almost the Bibles of CRM at the time. It was the one-to-one field book, Peppers and Rogers. It was the Clue Train Manifesto.
Yeah.
And right. Of course, it was CRM at the speed of light. And I just latched onto every single word in that. And that was so impactful to me. And I was thinking, so much has changed in the last 25 years, but some of those fundamentals, start with your customer, work backwards, build relationships, they're still there.
Yeah, you know what? The thing with you that always, I loved, I guess, I look, I love you as a person, and you know that. I mean, that's been forever. Whenever I see you doing, I'll call it business stuff, you take, look, let's face it, there's been a lot of talking head stuff on CX over 25 years, and we've all, we're analysts, so we're literally almost the epitome of talking heads, which is not bad, it just is. But the thing you always did was you yourself could be a talking head, but you also had moving feet and moving hands, right, too, meaning you went and built stuff, and you did it in, the best way to put it is in absolute accordance with what you felt was the right thing within the framework that you helped design. And I've never, you were always one of the best I knew, and are one of the best I know at that. And that's hard. And that's why I'm fascinated by where you are now. Can you talk a little bit about how you got there?
Yeah, look, I moved out of SAP now about 15 years ago,
yeah.
And I'm at heart, I guess I'm a practitioner. Yeah. I want to implement customer-centered business, And it doesn't matter who the customer is. That's a patient, a citizen, a consumer, a client. It doesn't matter at all. It's the same philosophy. And so I moved into consulting to really do that, to really try and transform organizations from their customer backwards. I joined EY about 13 years ago now, and I was one of the first hires that EY made worldwide in the CX digital innovation space. One of the things that we did there very early is start to acquire capability. And we came across a company called Seren that I'd actually worked with in a previous life. In telco media, we'd hired Seren to do some of our voice of the customer research and service design and innovation. And I just thought that's an incredible capability. If we could pair that up with the rest of EY, then you've got the cliche of the sort of right brain, left brain. You've got this spark of design and innovation combined with this sort of rigor of financial analysis, process redesign, regulatory compliance, cybersecurity. And if you're delivering a customer-centered business, it's quite easy now to do some of the upfront, to think of the ideas, to come up with a new product or service or experience. The rubber hits the road at implementation.
Yeah,
that is the difficult bit, because every sinew of the organization you're transforming will fight against it. It's really, really hard. We use phrases and words like be outside in, put the customer first. There's no business leader in the world would disagree with that. But then you get down to how they and their people on the ground actually behave. We're going to put the customer first, but I've got to make my sales target this month, this quarter. We're going to put the customer first, but I've got to get them off the call quickly to bring down my average call handle time. Every sinew of the organization fights against customer centricity. And I just love the ability to bring that sort of design and innovation next to the rigor of a big four consultancy. So I did that. EY acquired Seren back in 2015. And then we basically kind of cloned the model. We've made about 35 acquisitions around the world of a similar kind of style. EY Doberman in the Nordics and VODW in the Netherlands and Fortune Cookie in India, and we just kept going with that model, but always trying to bring an integrated view of design meets the rest of business transformation.
How do you actually get them to implement that, though? I mean, that's the part I think, as you said, it's very easy to just say these things, and it really is easy. I used to, in fact, even when I was doing my consulting work, I would tell people, look, I'm going to come in here and spend millions of your dollars, right, by telling you what I think you should do, and then I'm leaving, but it's up to you to actually do these things, right? So, which is really what ultimately is the other side of it, which is to implement costs something too, as well as fighting getting them to it. So how do you go about convincing them that, look, your sinews may be working against you, but your heart and legs and arms need to work for you in this case? How do you convince them of that?
I think it's usually a combination of things, and it probably depends on the C-suite member that you're talking to, and whether they're emotional in their behaviors and decisions, or whether they're rational, whether they're financially focused, or whether they believe in something bigger than just financial aspects like long-term value. But in general, I mentioned when I came on, those foundational books and principles of CRM. What was the whole thing based around? To me, it was based around mutually beneficial long-term customer relationships.
Yep.
And you start with the customer, you deeply understand their wants and needs, you design products, services, experiences around those wants and needs, you work backwards, you interrogate them from many different lenses. Is it financially viable? Is it compliant? Is it legally permissible, technically viable? You interrogate all of that. But over time, what you build is enduring customer loyalty. You get customers that remain customers for longer, they spend more, they cost less to serve, they cost less to sell to, and they tell their friends. Nothing has changed. that we can talk all we want about Gen AI and quantum computing and space tech and all the crazy speed at which technology is moving. In my mind, we're approaching some of those things way too much from an inside out point of view. We're thinking about the company's use case and the company's outcome. We're not thinking about relationships and good old fashioned loyalty economics.
One of the things I'm really interested in is you've been doing this for a long time, and there's been a lot of big technology disruptions along the way. You know, you could talk about the cloud, you could talk about mobile, other things, but over the last year and a half, 2 years, it's all been about Gen AI. How disruptive has what's going on in the last couple of years or year and a half has been to what you do compared to like some of the other big disruptions that took place and how that impacted design?
Yeah, it's a great question, Brent. You know, I've lived through so many waves and variants of this market. It kind of went from a Salesforce automation to CRM to eCRM to social CRM to e-commerce to, and now we're in a world, as you say, of kind of the only thing anyone will talk about is AI right now. I think looking back, I think we lost our way in some of those phases. I really do. If you go back to some of those basics about building a customer-centered business, that fundamental has endured through every single phase. But if I think back at that, you know, maybe 10 years ago, something like that, I think technology became so easy just to be lazy as marketeers and chase the consumer around the internet with ads. And the economics of doing that worked because digital advertising was cheaper than, you know, the cost of acquisition was reasonable. You could just keep going. You could keep putting dollars in the slot machine and getting a return from it. And that to me was it was a betrayal of the fundamentals of a customer-centered business. I think when I look at today and this phase of the market and this AI explosion, I don't think I've ever seen a technology on one hand explode so fast. On the other, of course, it's been around since, you know, 1950s, 1940s. So there's nothing new in AI. It's just the explosion of it now with Gen AI has changed so fast. It's grabbed attention faster than anything that I can remember. In terms of how it has affected us, if I speak maybe to the client demand that we see and the client questions that we get, look, I think you've got a lot of really, really challenging market forces coming together at the same time for most CXOs. That they're not just dealing with the explosion of AI, they're dealing with 2 years of, in some countries and geographies, economic crisis, continuous geopolitical shocks. They're dealing with a hyperinflation of customer expectations. And all of these things are just bound up in growth has been challenging for most clients in most industry sectors. I know it's a real overgeneralization. In that environment, I think it's been quite tempting for a lot of the C-suite to say, well, AI is here, so why don't we just rip cost out of marketing, sales, and service? Because AI can do that. AI can transform your content supply chain. AI can, you know, replace some of your call center agents. Let's just use this technology lever to take out cost. You can do that, but I think that is an incredibly dangerous mindset to take. I think if you go into any transformative initiative like that and your mindset is just, can we take cost out of our customer interaction layer? I think that's heading in a bad direction. So I think you have to challenge it. You have to say, well, sure, we can drive efficiency, we can bank some of the easy savings, but what fundamentally do we stand for with our customers? How are we building enduring relationships? The analogy I use quite often in marketing is, you think of Gen AI like a microwave oven. If every chef in the world has a microwave oven, then every chef can produce fast but bland, mediocre food. Now, what differentiates the best chefs and the best restaurants? It's mission, it's purpose, it's creativity. They find ways to create an experiential dining experience. They find ways to move beyond the microwave oven. And that's not to say it doesn't have a place. Of course it has a place. It's a really valuable tool in the kitchen. But to me, I keep going back to what are we trying to do here? We're trying to build long-term, mutually beneficial customer relationships.
You know, it's interesting what you've been saying, because it got me thinking about social CRM for a minute. And I remember my original definition of it was, well, it was my evolved original definition was the company's programmatic response to the customer's control of the conversation. And the key was the control of the conversation part, right? Which is they're trying to get people to get the idea that to think of, if you're thinking truly customer centrally, that you're going to figure that part out and you're going to build accordingly, right? And you're not saying it exactly, but Gen AI is forgetting that part to some degree, right? Meaning, actually, the part that spurred me, because I've been talking, and I know Brent has, and so have others, about, look, all the hype's hype, but when it gets real, it gets real with its use cases, right? We need to start seeing use cases, and there's a zillion use cases right now, but a large part of or a significant part of those, I'll say a large part, are, how would I put this? Making company operations better, one way or the other, not thinking about it to that point. How do you, now your focus is design and innovation of these customer-centric experience for that by a company for their customers. How do you deal with it when you're dealing with something that effectively, look, I mean, Brent and I were talking a couple of days ago because somebody had pointed this out. Bob Stutz actually had pointed this out. It's going to be on A Few Good Minutes on the 20th. That somebody had put up a LinkedIn post on their new product, which was a Gen AI product that would digitally, and this is that would onboard and train the digital workers, meaning bots, onboarded bots. I mean, that's literally what they're talking about. Needless to say, it got so much flack that it got taken down. But that's does reflect, that's an extreme example, but it does, aside from being the stupidest thing I've ever heard, that's an extreme example of, don't forget the humans here. There are actual people involved, and that's not those bots, right? So how do you deal with that? Because you're holding hard, you're holding really firm here, right? So how do you deal with that, given you're talking about design and innovation, which means when we're done with you, when Ey Seren is done with you, you're going to have the framework, and it's going to be institutionalized, and you're going to have the processes and practices that will allow you to help create that experience for those customers, and then provide them with the opportunity to make their own experience at the same time. How do you drive that in? Because that veil of confusion is just there.
Yeah, there's two things that we would always try and do. The first is we use a phrase quite a lot, which is future back. In that we don't look from where you are today and how you could, increasingly automate your customer service process by using AI and robotics process automation. We'd say just take a step into the future. What is it you want to stand for? What is your customer proposition and experience going to look like, and then work backwards. So we'd always look at future back first. And then the second we'd say is this is an ongoing journey. It's a continuum. You will look at some of the tech companies delivering, iterating, changing hundreds of thousands of experiences a day. That's way too much for most organizations to keep up with. But what we try and do is leave our clients in a place where they have the enduring capability to be continuously listening to the voice of the customer, designing, redesigning, iterating experiences, and working backwards. They have to build that muscle memory. Otherwise, the thing will just stop when we leave the building. I think when you're looking future back, maybe to echo some of the points that you're making about that social CRM day and that definition of the customer's control of the conversation. My view is almost all the narrative that I'm reading and seeing at the moment around AI in particular, so much of it is inside out. So much of it is the company's use case. We can take cost out of customer service. We can take cost out of your marketing, content, supply chain. We've got to put ourselves in the world where customers will have access to these tools. They're being democratized every single minute of every single day. The famous phrase that the future's already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Already, you can sign up as a consumer to an AI service that will relentlessly negotiate your telco, your cable TV, your mobile phone bills, your banking products with the chatbots of the major providers. So you can sign up as a consumer to say, I give the bot, my bot, authorization to relentlessly negotiate my tariff with my cable TV provider. And what it will do, it will just monitor for outages. It will constantly contact the customer service chatbot of the organization. It'll say, hey, you had an outage 3 to 5 p.m. last Thursday. I want a discount on my bill. Or I've spotted a better deal on the market. I want a better deal. The bot doesn't give up. But you've got to think about a world where those almost commoditized interactions are machine to machine. Now, lift above the machine to machine. What's going to keep companies creating differentiation is experience. Experience is what builds emotional connectivity and loyalty and long-term relationships. So I think you've got to one accept that a lot of customer interaction will be machine to machine, and two, realize that you need to deliver that efficiently, but then rise above it to deliver something that's differentiated.
Well, it goes to the heart of the thing that I know we've been pounding, which is, we lived in a world where everyone said, well, you have to separate signal from noise to be the kind of company you are. But I'm of the mind that we live in a world where you have to separate signal from signal, right? It's not signal from noise anymore, right? And in fact, Ray Wang has a really good idea that he talked about on a show last week, which calls it asymmetric advantage, meaning you have a company that is part of the bigger picture, like a Zoho or something like that, but there's something that they do that separates their signal from everyone else's signal. In Zoho's case, it's, you get basically an operating system and 100 different business applications for $39.95 a month per user, right? So so pricing is one of their things, and their public service commitment being another. But I think to your point about accepting machine to machine, but also recognizing that isn't actually, and I'm assuming this is what you mean, that isn't actually you as a human. It's like you are directing this thing. That's hard to do to me. I mean, it's hard to do. I know, look, I use Copilot every day. I don't bother with Google search anymore. And Copilot's just built into Windows 11, just sitting in my right corner. I need something, click over there. Want some medical ideas? I click over there. I want some ideas on how to win at Diablo 4, click over there, right? I mean, whatever it is, I click over there. And it's just routine. And that's the other side, to your point of commoditization, I think. So we're at a point where that's already happening at a consumer level. I'm not so sure at the B2B level yet, but where do you take it? I mean, so give, if you're able to, because I know there's a lot of restrictions, could you talk about like one of your successful projects with a company? And you don't have to give the company name particularly, but just something you did that you think is sort of representative of where things kind of need to be.
Yeah, look, I spent maybe 3 years during the pandemic working with a global retailer. At the start of the pandemic, e-commerce doubled within 6 months. Supply chain collapsed. There were all the shocks to the supply system around the world. You remember the ship stuck in the Suez Canal. Complaints to customer service went up a huge amount. And this was without giving anything confidential away, this was a low-cost retailer, fine margins, who thought of customer service as a cost center historically.
Right.
Something that the cost should be minimized. And what they came to realize when customers have access to all of these tools, when the customer is in control of the conversation, service is a huge strategic advantage and weapon. They would never be more efficient, more automated than a pure play e-commerce online only organization. And so what we helped them do was one, work out what is it they wanted to stand for with their customers? What's the customer proposition, customer experience look like? And then secondly, how can we turn service from cost center to value center? Now, in doing that, the fundamentals of the business model economics don't go away. This is still a low-cost retailer. And so we had to use AI and automation in a really smart way to take out costs, to drive efficiency, to arm the agent with more information, but also to free up humans for the really complex, difficult things, to allow them to do what they do brilliantly, tap into emotion, build relationships.
Laurence, this has been great. It's unbelievable, but we're almost at the top of the hour already. But one of the things I've been getting into a lot of conversations, and there seems to be a lot of discussion going on, just generally speaking, around when is the ROI come into the equation, but when it comes to, I think it's probably being driven by Gen AI, and maybe not as general as the general AI discussion, but maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe you're seeing that. But there was something that was written, I forget, it was a week or two ago, that said, it may be years before companies really get a significant ROI out of all this Gen AI discussion. First of all, are you getting a lot of that as you talk to customers and prospects around, the CX, and where does Gen AI fit in, and where does the ROI fit into that? Is that a conversation that you're seeing more of? Are those conversations becoming a bit of a hindrance when people realize maybe they're not getting to the ROI as soon as they thought they anticipated, because there's so much hype around Gen AI and there's so much hype about the things you can do, but you don't really get to that ROI discussion because you're kind of blinded by the hype.
What I'm seeing in most geographies that I work in at the moment is that ROI case is everywhere. There was a post-pandemic market 3 years ago, which was a race for digital innovation, and it was not as ROI focused. But with the economic conditions that most clients are operating in right now, it is the first question that's asked. The value case has got to be absolutely clear. Now, what we do tend to see is that a lot of people will start Gen AI under pressure from the CFO, COO to cut costs. But it's not that simple. It really isn't, because once you start, playing, exploring, really implementing this stuff, a few things become true. You realize, one, you can't just take out costs without the threat of cannibalizing performance and experience. So it becomes, well, we might have started with costs, but now we've got to do more with less. Secondly, you start to then uncover some of the risks and hurdles. So when you implement Gen AI, you've got to think about data quality, ethics, AI hallucination, regulatory compliance, IP copyright protection in every jurisdiction that you operate in around the world. Suddenly, and any one of those things, by the way, can stop this dead in its tracks, because some of the regulatory fines for a major breach will be, 5% of global group turnover if you get something disastrously wrong. So you have to think about that layer. You've then got to start to think about, okay, well, if we're automating this part of the business, if AI is doing this part of the work, how does the rest of it hang together? How does this work with people onshore, offshore? How does work get done in the system? That's a good old-fashioned operating model question. And then when you really get under the skin of this, what started with something simple, can we just put in Gen AI to take cost out of X? You realize, actually, wow, at some point we need to reimagine what X actually looks like in this world, because this is a true S-curve shift that's coming.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And this is great. We could have kept going on this one. There's a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll save it for another time. There's going to be another time. We're not even going to ask you the question because I don't think you're not a Patriots fan, are you? You're not a New England Patriots fan, are you?
I'm not, no.
You'll be back.
Just keep your keep January 20th and 21st in Atlanta open. I'll send you the details.
Amazing. Love to.
Oh my God, yeah. So
Awesome. So I know it's kind of late over there too. What time is it over there?
It's 9 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We thank you so much for hanging out with us way after hours there, but we appreciate it and look forward to doing this again. This is really interesting stuff. So on behalf of Laurence Buchanan, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz. And wait a minute. Whoops, wrong one. Now we got it.
That's it.
Now we can say goodbye.
See you, Minnie.
Minnie's I gotta see